Everyone, it's Emily Fox. So today's video is going to be something a little bit different. I don't do reviews on this channel, but I thought it would be fun to do 4 quick reviews because I have read all 4 books by Riley Sager. So he came out with 4 books in the last couple of years, and I have finally caught up, read all 4, and I thought it would be fun to give a quick review, give you my rating on all of them, my thoughts, and a ranking, basically 1 to 4, which ones are the ones that I think are worth the read, which ones I think might be more hit or miss depending on your taste. So all these reviews will be kind of short and they will be spoiler free. If I do want to mention something spoilery, which I don't think so, I'll mention it in advance, put it, in big on the screen, spoilers, so you don't get spoiled. And I will link also my Goodreads if you want to see more thoughts on them. Some of them I did include like a spoiler section where you can click and read a little bit more about them. But this author is well known, I feel like, on BookTube for writing mystery thrillers, and all of his books have a few things in common. First off, they're not domestic thrillers, which is, like, I haven't been, not gonna lie, I haven't been super lucky, I feel like, in the last 2-3 years reading mystery thrillers, because the ones that have been super popular are the ones where you follow a woman, usually that is a wife, maybe her husband is cheating, she's drinking, in a coma, like, they're all the same, and they've been not to my taste, let's just say it that way, but all of his books are not like that, which is great. The author also likes to play with timelines, so very often there's at least 2 different timelines. There's also a few different options of who did it and what actually happened. He also likes to play with, is it people or is it supernatural? So you kind of just never know. They're also not overly violent, which I have had issues, I think with Karen Slaughter, for example. I find like violence is okay if it makes sense with the story, as long as it's not for shock value. And I'm not really into, it sounds weird, but I don't really like books that have a lot of like sexual violence, which is not the case with his. There's one book out of the 4 that's a bit more violent, which I will obviously mention. And I also appreciate how it's not like there's like 10 twists, again, just to be able to say at the end, aha, you did not see that one coming, which sometimes, like, obviously there are 10 different ones, like, how could I? So there's none of that. They just feel more natural than that, basically. But I do feel like one thing that they all have in common, or at least 3 of them, that is a weakness, is the main female character. I don't know if anyone else will agree, but I feel like every time the main female character doesn't ring true, for a few reasons that I'll mention, they just don't feel right. I feel like this format of quick reviews is perfect for these books since they are mystery thrillers. I feel like if you say too much, you're just revealing everything. You know what I mean? Like, even if I share too many thoughts on them. So that's why I decided to do quick reviews. Let me in the comment section if that's something you are into, and I can do that more with more authors, especially in that specific genre. I'll go through them in the order that I've read them, just why not? I'll put the timestamp in the description box if there's a specific book you want to see, or more like hear the review of. Let's do this. The first book that I've read by him was The Last Time I Lied, which is also, surprise, surprise, my number 1 by him. I don't know if I would feel the same if I were to reread it. I feel like it's one of those things like, we'll never know. But I highly recommend you actually read this book right now because it is the perfect summer read / beach read. It happens in a summer camp. So in this book, you're following a female character who went to a summer camp when she was growing up. She had 3 friends there that one night disappeared and she never figured out what happened. And the camp was obviously closed afterwards. And she spends her whole life kind of just not knowing what happened until she is invited to work there whenever the camp reopens. And you're stuck trying to figure out, did she do it? Is she crazy? Who did it? Is it the person that reopens the camp? Is it, there's a few different options because once again, I forgot to mention that. I feel like the author is really good at juggling a few options. You just, never know. And I don't feel like they usually feel fake. It's all probable. So you're just not knowing what's going on. There's even a camera that is installed staring at her door at the camp. So you just really don't know what's going on. Personally, again, it's my number 1 out of the 4, so I did overall really enjoy it. The ending was not something I expected. I did think it was overall really well done, and I do think most people would enjoy it. Again, I feel like mystery thrillers is really hit and miss in general, but I think it's a pretty solid one. I definitely think most of you would enjoy it. I did give it 4 stars, by the way, which is solid for me. Definitely would recommend that one. The second book I read by him was Final Girls, which personally I think is the most forgettable out of the 4. I believe it's also the first one he wrote, so that might be the reason. I also want to mention I think it's the most violent one out of the 4, so if that's not your jam, I would definitely recommend skipping that one. The Final Girls are basically 3 different women that were the sole survivors during a massacre. 3 different circumstances by a mass murderer. I believe one of them, all her sorority sisters died. One of them, the main character, actually was in a cottage with 5 of her friends, and again, she's the only one that survived. So The story begins with one of them being killed, the first one. So the second one shows up at the door of the main character, which is, she's the third one. And you're trying to figure out what happened, who did it. Again, we'll keep it vague because that would be a spoiler. And you do get the flashbacks of when that happened. Personally, it's kind of the one that I remember the least about. It's the most forgettable, the one that, even though there were twists, I felt very detached with the story. I felt like, okay, that's what happened. You know what I mean? There was a lot of time spent on that main character who was kind of boring, to be honest. There's a lot about her baking, which like the first like half at least of the book, not much happens. And then there's the twist, but at that time I kind of just didn't really care anymore, and I didn't feel very attached to characters. So I was just like distanced, being like, oh, okay, that's what happened, For that reason, it's the one that I put in third place. You'll see why it's not in the last place, but again, I do feel like the overall quality is the lowest. Oh, and by the way, I gave it 3.5 stars personally. Like, just not memorable. But let's talk about the third book I read by him, Lock Every Door. This is going to be the review that is probably the most controversial. I feel like people either loved it or hated it. And in my case, part of the latter category for a reason, the ending. But let's start with the beginning, shall we? The main character in Lock Every Door is down on her luck. She desperately needs some money, and she gets a really great opportunity to become a apartment sitter in this building that is like really well known and really nice and chic and everything. And I believe she read a book there when she was growing up, and the author still lives there. So, there's all those reasons to want to do it, plus a ton of money. So it seems a little sketchy, but she still has decided to do it because obviously she's desperate. And everyone is being weird. There's like the whole atmosphere for this book was really, really good. Like the weird wallpaper, the weird people living there. She's trying to meet people, trying to figure out what happened because one other girl that is another apartment sitter disappears, and she's trying to figure out what happened. My issues, how I mentioned that the main female character is always the weakest point? In this one, it's super obvious because, let's be real, she's kind of dumb, like straight up dumb. And she reveals all of her secrets to someone that she's known for like 24 hours, which kind of felt weird. And then the way she pieces things together is surprising because, once again, she appeared so dumb. So it made no sense to me. I just didn't feel like she ranked through at all. I thought this book was going to be my favorite out of the first 3 I had read, but it turned out to be number 4 for me because of the ending. I can't obviously say anything, spoilers obviously, but it's going to be a hit or a miss. Personally, it was a huge miss. Was not impressed, was not into it. I have a ton of issues with it, but obviously spoiler free, I'm not going to mention it. Oh, so many issues with it. So yeah, personally, my least favorite one, I gave it 2.5 stars, I think, because again, the atmosphere and like the beginning is solid, but just afterwards. Okay, now the last book that I read by him, which is his newest one, is Home Before Dark. I was very excited to read that one because, as you can see, my rating has been so different for each one of them, but I was wondering, will the latest book be the best one by him? In this one, you follow a main character who, when she was growing up, spent basically 2 weeks living in a haunted house, and her dad wrote a book about it, their experience, why they had to flee the place and everything. And again, timeline, you go back and forth, one chapter being the book he wrote and then one chapter being present time. And her dad dies and she's left with the house, and she goes there to repair it and try to sell it. But when she is there, things start happening, being weird. She's trying to figure out what happened whenever she grew up there because she can't remember at all. So a lot of things happen. Some really great thing, once again, very gothic feel. Haunted house is like one of my personal favorite. Like, I have a weakness for it. I feel like I'm not too difficult with the endings as long as, there's the right feel for it. And I did feel like it was there. So that was pretty solid. Once again, I did feel like the main female character annoyed me so much. A few different reasons. First off, the way she describes, there's a man helping her in the beginning. And the way she describes it gave me like bad flashback of, back in the day, police mystery, murder mystery, and either the main character or like the way the main, male interest basically would be described. You felt like the author was like projecting like, oh, this hot 40-year-old man. And it's just so cringy the way it's described. Again, I'm very sensitive to that stuff, so many people won't really notice it. But then she made a few comments, like at one point she tells him that he's mansplaining to her, and I didn't feel like that was what was actually happening. again. So again, probably personally sensitive to that. Oh, and she also does that thing of like spilling all of her secrets after knowing someone less than 24 hours, which again makes no sense when you don't know what happened, you know? So yeah, overall a few cringy moments with her. I'm gonna keep it at that just because, again, it's a mystery. I feel like if I say anything, it will be a spoiler or just give you a hint of maybe what happened. Personally, I did see who did it at about like, actually, I feel like even then that would be a spoiler. I'm not gonna say it. I did feel like I did see it coming, even though there were a few options. Maybe I just got lucky. But I still overall enjoyed the explanation, you know, how it happened. And I do recommend it on the ranking scale. I'm gonna give it the second place, which is the only one that's still empty. I did enjoy it. I think I'm gonna give it a 4 stars too, maybe like a 3.75 that I'm running up to a 4 if you want to be super precise. But I did think it was pretty solid. I would recommend it, reading it during the fall because of the whole, you know, the vibes. So a thumbs up for that one too. So that's gonna be it for this video. Let me know once again if you think that's a format that you would like to see more of, where I review a few different books by the same author. I will be doing actually a video recommending a bunch of like fall reads very soon. Again, let me know if that's something you would be into. Please let me know in the comment section if you have read any of these 4 books. What were your personal thoughts on them? If you want to say spoiler, obviously just put spoilers in big so people can skip if they haven't read the book. But yes, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thumbs up, subscribe. I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out, and I will see you in my next video very soon. Bye.